When faith meets rock bottom, the transformative power of resilience. Have you ever felt like you were drowning in your own life? Like you were standing at the edge of a cliff with nothing but darkness below? That moment when your breath catches, your heart pounds, and you wonder if this is where your story ends. I recently had the extraordinary privilege of interviewing Charmange Anderson, a woman whose very existence defies the odds. Charmange isn't just a survivor, she's a testament to the human spirit's capacity for rebirth. From the depths of addiction to the heights of community leadership, her journey through legal battles and seemingly insurmountable obstacles has transformed into one of the most powerful testimonies of resilience I've ever encountered. What struck me most about Charmange wasn't just her survival, it was how she turned her darkest moments into a beacon for others, illuminating paths for those still lost in their own darkness. The truth is, we're all just one decision, one moment, one circumstance away from our lives unraveling. And what Charmange taught me, what she teaches everyone fortunate enough to hear her story, is that it's not the falling that defines us. It's what happens when we hit the bottom. When Charmange hit her rock bottom, she discovered something profound. Faith isn't just a concept for Sunday mornings. It's not a theoretical exercise or a philosophical position. It's a lifeline when everything else has been stripped away, when the addiction had taken everything, when the legal system seemed determined to define her by her worst mistakes, when society had written her off, faith remained, not as a distant comfort, but as the very ground beneath her feet when all other ground had given way. But here's what most people get wrong about transformation: it isn't passive, it isn't just about believing things will get better or waiting for divine intervention. As Charmange's story reveals with unflinching clarity, true healing demands both vulnerability and action. The courage to say, I am broken, and the determination to piece yourself back together, one painful fragment at a time. I think about this a lot. We live in a culture that celebrates strength above all else, especially for Black women. We're expected to carry impossible burdens without complaint, to push through pain without acknowledgement, to be the rock for everyone else while our own foundation crumbles. The strong Black woman trope isn't just exhausting, it's deadly. It kills slowly, silently, through accumulated stress, through neglected health, through the quiet desperation of souls too conditioned to appear invulnerable to ever admit they're drowning. This reminds me of Itacia, a high achieving Black professional who found herself drowning in corporate America. Like so many, she wore the mask of invulnerability at work while privately battling anxiety and exhaustion. Society had taught her that Black women must appear superhuman, never breaking, never bending, never showing weakness. Sound familiar? I see some nodding heads out there. What Atasha discovered, much like Charmange, was that true power isn't found in pretending to be invincible. It's found in the courage to be soft, to rest, to seek therapy, to build networks of support instead of islands of isolation. The revelation came not in a dramatic moment, but in the quiet admission one morning that she couldn't do it anymore, at least not alone, not like this. When Atasha finally allowed herself moments of softness instead of masking her pain, something remarkable happened. Not only did her mental health improve, but her professional relationships deepened. She became a more authentic leader who inspired through openness rather than stoicism. Her team didn't see weakness, they saw humanity. They didn't lose respect, they gained trust. This is the revolutionary power of softness that Charmange embodied in her recovery journey: the strength to say, I need help, the courage to enter rehab, the vulnerability to do the hard inner work. These aren't signs of weakness, they're the ultimate expressions of strength. Because sometimes the bravest thing we can do is admit we can't do it alone. Let that sink in for a moment. Sometimes the bravest thing we can do is admit we can't do it alone. I'm reminded of something Charmange said during our interview. Healing isn't a straight line. It's messy. It's ugly sometimes, but it's always, always worth it. There's profound wisdom in those words. We've been sold this idea that transformation should be Instagram worthy, a neat before and after with no messy middle. But real healing, the kind that transforms not just circumstances, but souls, is chaotic, nonlinear, and often painfully slow. This journey of transformation isn't just about personal healing, it's about redefining success on your own terms. This brings me to Corrada Williams, whose story parallels Charmange's message in powerful ways. Corrada encountered exclusion in traditional leadership circles where conformity was the unspoken requirement. She saw firsthand how systemic barriers kept diverse voices out despite merit or effort. But instead of fighting merely for inclusion at someone else's table, she built her own. She founded organizations centered around equity and empowerment, inviting others who'd been marginalized into leadership roles. These new tables became incubators for innovation within the community, fostering mentorships among young entrepreneurs previously overlooked by mainstream institutions. What Corrada and Charmange both understood is that sometimes lasting change requires breaking old molds entirely. Sometimes redemption means creating something new from the ashes of what was lost. Their stories remind us that our greatest contributions often emerge from our deepest wounds, if we have the courage to transform pain into purpose. But let's be honest, this path isn't easy, especially for Black women. Chantel Roberts' advocacy work exposed a painful truth. Despite being one of America's most engaged workforce demographics, Black women face disproportionate underemployment, lower pay, and rollbacks on diversity initiatives, all while expected never to break down or complain. The myth of meritocracy, that hard work alone leads to success, crumbles when confronted with the persistent discrimination many face even as they excel academically or professionally. This is why Charmange's story of overcoming addiction and legal battles carries even more weight. She wasn't just fighting personal demons, she was fighting in a system that often seems designed for certain people to fail. Yes, she persevered. Yes, she transformed. Yes, she now uses her story to inspire others facing shame or despair to believe in their own comeback stories. There's a scripture that says, we are hard pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair, persecuted, but not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed. Charmange embodied this truth. When everything and everyone said she was finished, Faith whispered, this is just the beginning. I want to pause here and acknowledge something important. Some of you listening right now are in your own rock bottom moment. Some of you are struggling with addiction, whether to substances, unhealthy relationships, or even the addiction to overworking and proving your worth. Some of you are facing legal battles, health crises, financial ruin, or the collapse of dreams you've held dear. I see you. Charmange sees you. And her message is clear: no situation is too far gone when faith meets action. The beautiful paradox in Charmange's story is that true strength was found not in appearing invulnerable, but in admitting vulnerability, not in isolation, but in community, not in hiding her scars, but in showing them so others might find healing too. This is what the soft revolution truly means, not a trend or aesthetic, but a profound reclamation of our humanity. It's permission to rest without explanation, to heal without timeline, to be soft in a world that demands hardness. For Black women, especially, who have carried the weight of families, communities, and workplaces on their shoulders, this reclamation is revolutionary. It's saying my worth is not in what I produce. My value is not in how much I can endure. My strength is not measured by how little help I need. Charmange's journey reminds us that sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is put down the cape, to stop being the superhero everyone expects and start being the human being we actually are, messy, imperfect, and gloriously in progress. So I challenge you today. What rock bottom are you facing? What mask are you wearing that's suffocating your spirit? What help have you been afraid to ask for? If you're struggling, whether with addiction or any other burden, reach out today, not tomorrow, not when things get worse. Today, ask someone you trust for support. Your vulnerability might be the key that unlocks not just your healing, but theirs too. If you've overcome adversity yourself, your story is medicine someone else desperately needs. Consider mentoring someone still fighting their battle. Be the person you needed when you were at your lowest. And for all of us, can we create communities where vulnerability is valued as highly as strength, where asking for help is seen as wisdom, not weakness, where faith and action dance together in the beautiful choreography of transformation? I want to leave you with this truth that emerged from my conversation with Charmange. Rock bottom is not the end of your story, it might just be the beginning of your greatest chapter. Faith doesn't just help us survive our darkest moments, it transforms them into the very foundation upon which we build lives of purpose and impact. You are not defined by your worst moments. You are not limited by your past mistakes. You are capable of transformation. You are worthy of second chances. And your story, especially the chapters written in tears and struggle, might be exactly what the world needs most. The question isn't whether you'll fall, the question is what you'll do when you hit bottom. Will you stay there? Or will you, like Charmange, discover that sometimes rock bottom becomes a solid foundation on which you rebuild not just a life but a legacy? The choice is yours, and I believe in you.